So, welcome back to the Half and Half Scarf Football Podcast with me, Nick, and my mate Dom. You know the backstory by now. Two season ticket holders from Middlesbrough. Dom's also a season ticket holder at Everton because he now lives in the Wirral and has done for over 25 years. He doesn't wear a half and half scarf and won't be seen dead in one. But we're talking about things we think that regular Joe football fans like us, game going, match going fans, chat about on the way to the game, in the pub, in the concourse, after the game, etc. And we just got a take on it as match-going fans. So hopefully you're enjoying what we're doing and what we're creating. We get some really good feedback, which is always appreciated. So we've got a subject today. We've got two, but we might get this through to one. Depends on kind of timing. So let's tell you what we're going to do on episode 9. We're going to talk about the Managerial Merry-Go-Round before it starts, really. And what our take might be, and a few little bets on, who might be already under pressure. And we're going to talk about the new stadium fan experience, not just from a perspective of Everton, but we're going to look at, some recent football stadium changes and what it's been like for them. Now, if we don't get through to the second subject, that's absolutely fine. We'll cover it next week. But the first subject is the Managerial Merry-Go-Round. And here to help me to discuss that in all its glory is my mate Dom, and we're both wearing white. We're both wearing Adidas. What's going on here today, mate?
We are, mate. Glad to be back. Episode 9, nearly double figures. Loving the pod, really enjoying it, and loving the feedback we're getting from the audience. So keep the comments and the questions coming, and the thoughts for future pods. So yeah, really into it, really engaged. For our YouTube watchers as well as listeners, I'm wearing the 14-15 Middlesbrough spur of the moment third kit that they introduced midway through the season when our home and away kits clashed with Brentford, and I'm trying to wrap my brains. There was another team we clashed with.
It might have been Southampton, mate.
It might have been Southampton, yeah. And they came up with this exquisitely beautiful all white kit with red trim. Just the nicest thing on the planet, mate. This is one of my favourite treasured tops. And if anything ever happened to it, I'd be devastated. I love it that much. So that's mine. Very simple, very elegant. Doesn't get any better than this.
Well, mine's simple, but it's hardly elegant. Mine is the it's the away kit from. I don't remember the seasons; they all meld into one. But certainly,
17-18, I think, mate. That one.
17-18
back in the championship. Yeah.
Round neck, Adidas template. There's absolutely no design effort gone into it whatsoever. No. Big band across the top, massive sponsor Ramsden's, and it could have been designed by a 14-year-old on Microsoft Paint. As always, I usually buy the home and away kit. There's a couple of kits I haven't bought. I went with this one. I wore it at away games. Not for me at all. Very templated, very Adidas, very, you're not big enough to be bothered about. So here you have this. That's what you've got. So without further ado, for the fans who are watching, that's enough about our shirts. For those who are not watching, let's get on to the subject matter of the Managerial Merry-Go-Round. Now, a bit of context on this, because these are recorded a little bit in advance of release date. So at the time of recording, we're still only one game into the Premier League season. It's the Thursday before the second weekend. 2 or 3 games or even 4 games in the Championship, the EFL and the SPL. But several managers and head coaches already appear to be under pressure. Now, the barometer for this, for me, mate, is Frank de Boer lasting 3 games at Palace a number of years ago, right? Now, with 1 game in the Premier League, 2 games in the Championship. Do you reckon anyone's going to beat the record in terms of Frank de Boer? Don't drop any names yet. Do you think that record of someone being sacked before 3 games are out in one of the top 2 divisions is under pressure, without naming names, because we're going to go through some names later? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
Only on one name at the moment, mate. Or if you're including the Scottish Prem, possibly 2. I've probably given a name away without meaning to, but yeah, there's a couple of candidates that are worth discussing. That if it doesn't happen within 3, could happen very quickly afterwards. But yeah, will 3 ever be beaten? I never thought I'd see the day when it would, but I think it'll come close, and we'll discuss a couple of candidates that you might think, hopefully you might agree or not agree. I'd like to hear people's take on when we do mention these names, what they think.
Okay. Now, going back to the Frank de Boer, going back to sacking a manager after 3 games, or let's even just say someone is sacked after 5, 6, 7 games. What does that say about the club, the hierarchy, the decision making, the spending plans from the summer, the strategy? What really? Why would they do that? I don't understand why they would do it. Why did they take such a knee-jerk reaction after such a short period of time? Because there's 46 games. How many games? It's 46 games in the Championship and 38 in the Premier League.
Yeah.
3 or 4 games, and you got a new squad often and a new strategy and philosophy to get into play. Panic button, surely.
Oh, completely. Absolutely, completely. I remember when Frank de Boer got sacked and they brought Hodgson in, and Hodgson instantly steadied the ship. And I think he got 3 wins out of 4. And everyone was saying, oh, yeah, perfect choice, brilliant decision. Should have happened from the get-go. It's like, you gave the poor guy 3 games.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know what? No one's got a crystal ball. It might have ended terribly, and he might have never been able to be up for the job at Crystal Palace. But 3 games, as you just said, me and you have this chat all the time. It's a big bugbear of ours. If you're an owner or a chief exec and you're director of football, surely when the money involved in football these days, the diligence you should have to put in, because bearing in mind these managers come with backroom staff, their footballing philosophy, the players they want, players that might be allowed to leave because this manager's coming in. And then you're saying that 3, 4 games in, all that goes out the window. So all that summer's pretty much gone.
Mm.
Someone else comes in and they have a different plan altogether. So yeah, it smacks to me of just panic, sheer panic, and thinking, oh my God, we've made a terrible decision, rather than sitting tight, being calm, and having faith in your decision.
Well, historically, that was when you called Sam Allardyce or Tony Pulis or whoever, wasn't it? And thankfully,
Yeah.
they're now making crap adverts on telly for, I don't
Food,
know, Deliveroo or Uber Eats or
food.
something,
Yeah.
aren't they? But thankfully, they're no longer on a chairman's ringtone. Thank for God. But it smacks of desperation for me. But let's talk about a few of those circumstances, because it's not just about the Premier League. Frank de Boer, 3 games. Birmingham sacked John Eustace after a handful of games. I don't know how many it was, but it wasn't. I don't think it was double figures, and they were sixth in the Championship at the time. And he's done really well since, hasn't he? He
Yeah.
saved Blackburn, and he made Blackburn into a decent sort of Championship side, and he saved Derby last season. And he looks like a really good Championship manager. But the owners sacked him because, for whatever reason, well, we know what they wanted. They wanted Wayne Rooney, didn't they? Um, but they'd already done that. Different owners that at the same club had done it with, Gary Rowett to replace him with Gianfranco Zola. So why do you think owners and chairmen and heads of football see things differently to fans? Because every single fan in the country last season was look at that John Eustace decision and look at the Wayne Rooney appointment and go, well, that's worse. Obviously, we didn't know how bad it was going to get, but, well, we probably did. But if the fans can see it, and we're talking universally here, why
Absolutely.
don't the chairman and the board and the head of football and the head of football strategy, why don't they see it? What are they missing?
It's a great question, and it's one I ask myself all the time, Nick. I'm always fascinated at just the sheer ignorance and stupidity a lot of the time. I think the Birmingham one, we've discussed it briefly before, was new owners coming in, and Tom Brady coming in, and they're suddenly having their idea of, well, we think he's going to be brilliant, Wayne Rooney, so we don't really care how he's doing. We think he's going to be even better, so we'll just replace it. Everyone will like us when he comes in and does really well. They'll just forget about John Eustace, and we'll be seen to have done the right thing. And it all went so horribly wrong. But for me, it beggars belief that surely as an owner, you come in and you should be watching. You should be watching the manager's relationship with the players, the staff, because him getting to where he was getting, and he was in top 6 and playing really good football. Sometimes, even if you get to that position and you're not quite sure how you've managed to get there, but you've managed to blend the players in such a way that you've got that team spirit, the confidence, the swagger, you're winning games. Surely you would buy into that and go, well, by hook or by crook, we don't know how it's worked, but we're going to roll with this and enjoy it, and see how long it goes. But also spend the time watching the guy, talking to the guy, talking to
Mm.
the players. Surely is that something you'd not want to invest in and buy into and encourage? But no, they they almost have this set idea of what they want to do, so they just bulldoze that. And I'm thinking, well, that's a massive disconnection for me. It's a huge disconnection because that's not doing any kind of diligence. It's almost saying, I have a fixed way of how I think this football club should be run. Therefore, I'm going to do it like that. And that doesn't go anywhere. So and I think Birmingham actually got burnt and learned their lesson and have gone back to trying to mirror what John Eustace did with their current manager, who seems to be very in the same ilk as John Eustace.
Yeah.
We mentioned it on a previous pod about different things. Same thing at Hull, having a difference of opinion with, I forget his name, the really promising guy who was Hull's.
Rossinia.
Yes, really great coach, really speaks well, had a really good time at Hull, brilliant with his players, was really getting the tune out of Hull. And you could see he was really enjoying and invested at being there. At the end of the season, it's the classic walks away by mutual consent. And the manager saying, the owner saying, oh yeah, I get on really well with Rossinia. We just see the game a different way. It's like, but you shouldn't be seeing the game a different way. Simple thing comes in again. He was being successful. He was getting a tune out of the players. They were rising up the league and challenging. Invest in it. Don't throw it out the window.
Hull finished 7th, right? And if you don't see football in the same way as your manager, trust the fact that they see it better than you do, because he's taken it to 7th, not you.
Exactly, and you've employed him to do that job. And if you also have any doubt that it's working, just listen to your fans and see the fans in the stadium watching your team win and getting behind them and being excited that you're actually challenging for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
It's all about the fans, and it's all about a team. No one really cares how they get to do it. You'd love to think it's with organisation, skill and diligence and time. But sometimes it is a case of the right blend of players. Look at Forest. You're telling me that Forest suddenly deliberately said, we've brought all these players in because we know that by doing that we can get to top 4. No, they didn't.
No.
They brought players in and they've just got that really good mix and blend that works so well with good players. None of them are worldies, by the way.
Yeah.
That have got them into that position. And you can't tell me that their manager and their owner wouldn't say there's a certain amount of luck. There's always a certain amount of luck in football. And I think when you get it and you get a streak and you get a manager that's getting a tune out of players, surely you should be paying attention to that, not just bulldozing it and chucking it out the window, which means if you're an owner of a club, what are you in it for if you're going to literally bulldoze a promising project, is the word they use now? Why would you do that?
Vanity, mate. Vanity is the answer, I think. And I'll give you an example of Nuno, right? Wolves, I still think, and despite teams, Burnley under Company, Leeds a couple of times under Bielsa, certainly, fantastic football in the Championship. The best team I've seen in the Championship in recent history were Wolves under Nuno, when they had, Neves and that kind of team. And Nuno was a fantastic manager. Obviously, he went to in the Premier League with Wolves and he did okay. He was given 6, 7, 8 games at Spurs, wasn't he? Yeah. But now look at him. You look at him now and you go, Nuno's a great manager because he's getting a tune out of some, they're not average players, they're really good players, but they're not world-class players. But Spurs threw that baby out with the bathwater, didn't they, on that basis? But I just want to come back to one more. We finish the loop on the Eustace, Rowett, Wayne Rooney scenario. Wayne Rooney was sacked by Birmingham because he was poor, like beyond poor. He couldn't communicate. He couldn't get his ideas across. He was a terrible coach. The staff hated him. The team didn't gel with him at all. Gets sacked. And then, you know what? The guy at Plymouth must have gone, he's the guy for us. How does that work? He's the guy for us. Look at his failed CV. Oh, well, he's Wayne Rooney. He'll do for us. Now, anyone with any sense of football was going to tell you that last season Plymouth were going to struggle under Wayne Rooney, and lo and behold, they did. They'd have been better off getting Stephen Schumacher back, or somebody like that, or the guy they've got at Birmingham who's a great young manager, and they got him he was a coach at Spurs, I believe, in the sort of youth system and that kind of stuff. Employ some good young dynamic coaches. They don't have to be a name, do they? They have to just be people who can take a project and deliver it, and your names are just not the ones who are doing that, are they?
I agree. Just because you were a brilliant footballer doesn't mean you're going to be a brilliant manager. I mean, we've had this brief chat. I love Wayne Rooney as a player, just a fantastic footballer, but he doesn't. I'd like to know how he articulated himself when he was a manager, because he doesn't articulate himself very well now on on the TV. I watched him briefly on the match of the day at the weekend, and he was slightly better on that. But I think it's because he's had more preparation throughout the day, so he can rehearse his lines. If you see him on a live broadcast, he's really quite poor,
Yeah.
terms and stutters, and the information he provides is like, wow, is that really an insight? I mean, to be fair, I don't think you get a lot from the players anyway. A lot of the punditry now, it's like, let's just talk everyone to death and bore them silly and pay the people who are talking vast amounts of money.
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, I agree with you entirely. I don't think there's enough investment and nurturing of really good coaches that could walk into being a manager at a club where they're less under scrutiny and just let them have a go at it.
Mm.
They'd actually be under far less pressure. The fans would be under less expectation, and let them get on with it.
Yeah.
Surely some of these coaches are the right people to employ, because they're working with these players in the lower teams under the first team. They've obviously got to have good rapport with these players. They're trying to elevate them up to get them in the first teams or get them moved away to other clubs. They've probably got much more ability to put an arm around a player and communicate and get their points across than sometimes these so-called big names. And another point you made, where managers are getting sacked and they're instantly in the frame for something else. Surely that's an alarm call. Actually, would you not want to know all the key reasons why someone has failed before you
Yeah.
employ them and then have to pay them off? It's madness.
It's the only industry in the world where if you're rubbish, there's a queue of people want you next, isn't there, really?
Oh, it's crazy, mate. Absolutely crazy. And in the Premier League, these managers get sacked and they walk away with a season's worth of money.
Yeah.
Walk away with millions, and then they're straight back into a job.
We'll come back to that in a minute. I mean, this week they've saved Morecambe, which is great news
It
as a
is
football
brilliant.
fan. As a football fan, just to see that club saved, they've appointed a Sikh guy, haven't they? Who's the first Sikh coach in any of the top five divisions. I couldn't care less if the guy's a Sikh. You look at his coaching credentials; he's absolutely brilliant. You look at it and say he's highly regarded. He's done his badges. People rate him. The fact that he's a Sikh's absolutely immaterial, by the way. But he'll be under scrutiny on that basis. But he should be left alone to sit the club that's just been saved, to give him a couple of seasons to get his philosophy across. But because it's football, at some point it'll be like, whoa, six games in, he's not the guy for us, and they start putting the pressure on, don't they? Irrespective of who you are, I wish the guy every success in the world, and I'd love him to be massively successful with a club that's been saved from extinction, because it's great to see as a football fan, isn't it?
I 100% agree with you. His religion shouldn't come into it. It should be all about his football credentials and be based on that. I think it's quite refreshing from those owners as well that they've done that, because, and I'm not advocating sacking managers and I'm not having a go at Derek Adams, but he's also been round the block. He seems to change job every 5 minutes. And you kind of think, well, how successful and good at your job are you when literally you're getting sacked left, right, and centre, and you don't spend more than a season at a club? Yes, you've had some success in the past, but there's a lot of journeyman managers out there now who just seem to always constantly do the rounds. And I'm not criticising the guy, but maybe Morecambe's owners are thinking, actually, we don't want that. We want to actually give someone who's got a good chance of actually making us stable and go from there. But the caveat to that, Nick, is they've then got to back him and
Yeah.
support him. And if you're going to do that, support someone. What's the point in doing it if they're not supporting them? It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
But let's go back to a point you made there. A set of circumstances could be lucky, right? So Adams could have a really good season somewhere for a season because all the dice fall in the right numbers, don't they, for him?
Yeah, yeah, completely.
So is that down to him or is that down to luck? It's a combination, but he's never stayed anywhere, particularly any length of time. So the guy who's now at Morecambe, I'd like them to say, you know what? Irrespective of what happens in the next 2 years, you've got 2 years. They won't do that, of course, but wouldn't that be refreshing that he is under no immediate game results pressure, so he can build a culture, a dynasty, a team, a strategy. If more
Like, do his
clubs did
job
that,
properly. Yeah, if more clubs did it, it's like, yeah, it's you've just been saved from going out of business. So, just start from the bottom up slowly and get yourself stable. And
Yeah.
if you're the right guy, I mean, it's like anything, isn't it, Nick? If someone proves to you that they're not through how they handle themselves at the club, results, everything, it's got to be the whole thing. It's like if teams are losing, but chairman can see that everything's right in the background, I think you should give more time because it's like, well, actually, this could easily turn around. We just need to give it time to click.
Yeah.
There's, you know, going off on a tangent, but linked to this managerial merry-go-round and how owners are and clubs are, the Watford model is absolutely appalling. It's atrocious. I mean, you could write a book about the Watford thing. I mean, just going back to our current manager Rob Edwards when they hired him 3 seasons ago, and all this, they literally bust a gut to get him out of Forest Green Rovers.
Yeah.
And they use the words themselves. I actually remember reading it. We've done all our diligence on Rob. Good young manager. We're going to really back him and really invest in him. We're going to give him the time. 8 games in, and he's like top 6, and they sack him. And it's like, what is that about?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And the thing is, what I loved about that season is he went to Luton and got him up, and Watford didn't. It's like, if you just paid attention, been patient, that might have been you with the same manager.
It's patience, but it's also the vanity of, we can't afford to be lingering in 11th or
I know,
whatever.
Watford. And please, Watford fans, I'm not like having a go at you. You're a great club, been there before, fantastic stadium. But, I'm not talking about the fans, I'm talking about the owners. Get over yourselves. Seriously, get over yourselves.
Yeah. I've got a thing here.
With good fans, and I feel sorry for Watford fans because that must be really painful to watch every season and buy into as a fan. That must be hard, particularly as you know that whoever's being brought in as a manager isn't pulling the strings, the owners are. That's got to be very soul destroying. So I'm not quite sure what ride you end up enjoying. Do you just enjoy the fact that if someone comes in for a season and is successful, you just roll with it and enjoy it? Watford fans, please tell me. I'm struggling on that one because it's like, oh well, this guy he's playing great, but he could be gone in a few games time for no fault of his own,
I want to get on to some names that we think might be under pressure,
Okay.
but a couple of things I'd like to talk about first of all is on the Watford model. Tom Cleverley was sacked. Most pundits last season predicted that Watford would get relegated because they had no investment, they had a thin squad, they had a new manager, and he finished. They had a really bad run at the end of the season, and I'm thinking, well, he's unlucky to get sacked, although he might be doing himself no favours because as we speak, Plymouth are bottom of the League One and they haven't won a game yet. So, maybe it's the right decision to make. But I think Tom Cleverley was unlucky I mean, you take a Watford job, you're not moving house and putting your kids in a new school, are you? Because there's no point really. However successful you are, you ain't staying more than 8 months, 10 months, if that really. So that model's a bit weird, strange for me. A couple of things I want to talk about at the start of the summer, and you might not remember this, it might just trigger a bell with you really. Leeds got promoted, worthy champions last season, great to watch. I hate to say that as a Borough fan, you know that, but they were great to watch, deserved champions, 100 points, 100 plus points I think they got, and rightfully got promoted with Burnley, and Sunderland went up in the playoffs. But within hours of getting promoted, Daniel Farker was being talked about as being sacked. We'll get lots of strong rumours at the time that, well, Farker's got us up, but he's got such a bad record in the Premier League. Daniel Farker's on his way, and I'll be honest with you, there was a lot of traction. It was probably social media traction, but I'm thinking to myself, if they do that, that is the most disgusting decision in football ever. Because surely the guy who took them up in a very tight championship race and won the title, playing really good football. I know they didn't get up the season before, so he'd lost a bit of credibility by losing at Wembley, but he put it right the season after last season. Takes them up, and immediately he's under pressure because he's got a previous history at a different club who probably didn't back him as much. Norwich never spent money in the Premier League, did they? So he was always under pressure at Norwich. Why would someone start talking about sacking a manager who's just won the championship with 100 points within hours almost? It's pretty disrespectful beyond belief. Do you remember when that happened?
I remember it, and I 100% agree with what you've just said. I thought it was crazy. I actually think it was media driven. I think that was just pathetic journalists for some of these tit-tat rags online who let's just start a really shitty storyline because it's like an obvious one. Oh, Daniel Farke, he's never done really good at Norwich in the Premier League. He's always been really soft touch. They've just gone straight down. He's going to do the same at Leeds. Let's just put it out there that lead to thinking of sacking him. I don't think they were planning on sacking him at all.
Yeah.
I actually think that's a load of rubbish because they've completely backed him and given him loads of funds to buy quality players. And I'm a big fan of him. I like his football. I like him as a manager. I think he's got Leeds playing really, really well, And yeah, it's almost like the media have done it loads. They do it with all kinds of clubs. They've done it with Everton a lot. Not so much sometimes about managers, but sometimes about trying to get you relegated or egging them on to about points deductions and where Everton are going to be, and this is their season for going down. It's like the media like to fuel things and get people behind a cause that's negative and pointless and very disrespectful. I agree with you on all those points. He did a superb job for them last season. Why on earth would you remove him just to bring some name in that will probably abjectly fail?
And that name could have been someone, and we'll leave it out there, like a Steven Gerrard. You know what? Let's not even.
He's never going to get those jobs again, mate. His time's done. Seriously, he's done.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Right. The last thing I want to finish on the first half of this in terms of the merry-go-round bit before we start getting into our thoughts on who might be in that merry-go-round is we mentioned earlier it's the only job in the world where if you crap, there's a queue of clubs waiting for you. Chairman offer you a new package on top of a massive severance pay. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Steve Bruce. That's all I want to say on that is Steve Bruce. He's had a career of being bang average at best, getting paid off every few years and getting a fortune to go and watch cricket in Barbados. And, there's a queue of people. He's not doing a great job at Blackpool, is he? He's going down and down and down the leagues. And I don't know who any chairman would look next time round and go, you know what we need? We need Steve Bruce. That's all I'll say on that subject. The guy is bang average at best and worse on any given day. He's just, every club he's been at, when he's left, the fans have just breathed a sigh of relief that he's gone. And from Newcastle, Sunderland, Huddersfield, Birmingham, Villa, that guy's had more jobs and he's got more severance pay than enough. Why do these people still get jobs?
I don't know, to be honest. I'm not overly critical of Steve Bruce. I think he's also had a tough ride at some places he's gone. He was pretty brutally treated at Newcastle, and I know the fans didn't like him at all. I think there's been the odd element of goodness there. He did a good job when he was at Birmingham, but that was fairly recently into his managerial career.
It was 1,000 years ago, Dom.
1,000 years ago, exactly. So you can't really count that because he did stick it out there for a good while and had success there. And he was good at Hull. When he came into Hull, I wasn't really expecting him to be because I think his stock was quite low, and I think the success he had at Hull and what he did with them, and he wasn't a one trick pony. There, he did it, got them up and from the Championship twice, and I think that rose his stock to get some of the jobs he got. But I would agree with you. I think, and it's nothing against him. He might be a really nice guy, but managerially wise, you surely got to question what's the long game here, because you're not going to get a long game from him in terms of longevity in establishing a really good football team that's good to watch, that's going to compete on every level, that's going to stay in that position, and the players he's going to bring in and nurture. I don't think that's going to really happen with him, and it's just a bit of a puzzler for me. I actually thought when he finished at Newcastle, that's the last. I thought he was done with it because of how he was treated and how the fans treated him. And I think he was just thinking, "Oh, do you know what? I'm done." I mean, let's face it. It's not like he's doing it for the money because he doesn't. He's long past needing the money. I don't think he did need the money, so he must be in it for the love of the game. Because if you go into Blackpool, surely you must be in it because you love the game,
right?
Which I admire about him, but I do agree with you. It's like, as owners, it's like, are we going to get what we want with this manager? And as a fan, I'd be sitting there thinking, I'm not seeing this. I'm really not seeing it. And by whatever means, he's not doing a very good job at Blackpool. So I think when his time's up there, and I don't really think it's going to be very long. I can't really see where he goes from there, to be honest. It's a bit like Mark Hughes, isn't
I
it?
was just going to say Mark
Mark
Hughes is the
Hughes is
classic,
the
isn't
same.
he? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same thing, and it's they're obviously doing it because they want to do it. They love football. Surely it must be that, Nick. I mean, why on earth would you choose these jobs if you're not in it for the love of football? So that's fairly admirable in a way. Because I don't think they're going to go in there and be wanting, I need this from you, and I'm only going there because he's paying me a fortune. Surely money's not been an object for a long time. But yeah, it's a
I,
tricky one.
I
Um,
think I think Mark Hughes is sad. I think it's a sad story. You look at it and
yeah,
go, God, where's he now, Carlisle? It's like really. Anyway, enough of the managerial merry-go-round in terms of how it works
yeah,
and the history of it. Let's get on to some names.
yeah,
I'm going to throw some names at you, mate. Right, and you're just going to, I guess, give me an insight. They're in no particular order. I'm going to start with the two that I think are under most pressure. One in the Premier League and one in the Scottish Premier League. You gave the Scottish Premier League one away, I think. Russell Martin at Rangers. Right. Trust the process, Russell Martin. Really? Talk to me about was he a good appointment in the first instance?
no,
With 3 or 4 games in, if that, they're out of Europe. They're definitely going to be out. They're 2-1, 3-1 down from a home leg against Club Brugge. Club Brugge are a really solid
they're
European
good at
outfit.
home. They're good at
Yeah.
home. Yeah, they are.
Russell Martin, talk to me about it very briefly. The sack race, is he under pressure
Yeah.
already?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he is. I think Rangers, to save face, won't be like the Premier League or the Championship. I actually think they'll give him some time. Painfully so, really. A bit like the guy they had in last season who was awful, and they
Mm,
just drag on and drag on and drag on when everyone knew it was time for him to go. I think they might try and save face and think, oh, this might come good, this might come good, give him some time. And let's face it, he is only a few games in, and we've just said ourselves, you've got to give managers time. But sometimes it's actually seen that you've perhaps employed the wrong guy, and
yeah.
worryingly as well, it's the sporting director is the guy that just left Everton to go in there, and he appointed him, and he was part of the team and the panel that appointed him. They thought he fit Rangers' model of what they needed. I It was interesting when I was on the train up for the Middlesbrough Rangers game. I was chatting to the 3 Rangers fans who were with me, and I said, "What do you think of Russell Martin?" And they were all the same. They were like, "Actually, you know, really not overly keen, but prepared to give him a go."
Yeah.
And they all said he needs to be successful in Europe, and be solid in terms of league. And if he's not doing that very quickly, the fans will really get on him because he needs to hit the ground running very, very quickly there. He said otherwise the tide will turn very, very quickly. You just don't get the time there really from the fans.
I think he's Emperor's new clothes. I don't rate him at all as a coach. He got Southampton promoted. I think you and I got that squad promoted. They had the strongest squad in the
Oh,
division. They went up, big deal. That set a look or whatever it might be. They were abject in the Premier League. He's learnt nothing by the looks of what he's doing at Rangers. I think he's under pressure. The one that's under pressure the most for me in the Premier League, I give you Graham Potter. Graham Potter at West
yeah,
Ham, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Two things. Apparently, he's not playing the West Ham way. I mean, that was Martin Peters, Jeff Hurst, and Bobby Moore, as far as I can. Last time West Ham had a West Ham way, I think. But also, again, totally overrated for me. He did really well at Brighton, but everyone who goes to Brighton does really well, don't they? So I take that off his CV and go, well, anyone could do that. Terrible at Chelsea, shocking so far at West Ham, and Dame, what's her face, Brady or whatever, Karen Brady, he's been on the radio this week saying he's a lovely guy. We'll give him time. He's building something. There's your vote of confidence. One came in. I reckon he'll be gone before bonfire night. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think there's a very good chance he'll be gone. I'm with you. I think where he thrived in Sweden was because he wasn't. Sweden's not anywhere else. You just get ignored. Not ignored in terms of no one's paying attention, because clearly people are because they're watching, because that's how he got the Swansea job. But you're not under the same scrutiny, and he was able to do what he needed to do in Sweden. But Sweden isn't the Championship or the Premier League, and he had time there. He was given the time, and he had a lot of years there to build what he wanted. I agree with you on Brighton. When he first came to Swansea, he was playing well, he was bedding in well. He was there for only a season, and his season wasn't that huge. They finished mid-table, but from Swansea fans I know, and a couple of pods I was listening to about him, because I was intrigued about him, said he was playing really good football, and if he'd stayed there, they were all interested to see if he'd stayed, how he'd have elevated him up the following season. That would have been the test. But Brighton came in, swooped when he had his first season at Swansea, so it was hard to gauge how he was doing there. But I agree with you with Brighton. I think managers who go in there, because the model is so good at Brighton in terms of how the structure is, how they run, the back room, the structure behind the manager, the recruitment. That all helps in terms of. I mean, look at all the backroom staff that went when Potter went, that Chelsea scooped up and took, and people have gone elsewhere since.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, was he good there and stable there because of all the good support he had in the background and the players that were coming through? There's probably a very good argument to say that is the case. Fair point. Briefly on Chelsea, I think when he went in there, I think it was a hard ask for him, because I think he had a squad of like 30 people that he was expected to play. Yeah. I think he was always going to struggle there. 6-year contract or something, and they gave him hardly any time at all.
Yeah.
But equally, he did look like a duck out of water. He looked almost scared, timid, not even sure what to do. He had a big long rest. All these clubs come in for him. I haven't seen him do anything at West Ham that's anything sparkling. Have you?
No, his points per game ratio is worse than it was under Moyes. Ironically, West Ham fans are saying, oh, David Moyes would be just exactly what we need now, but they didn't want him when he'd finished with them, have they? So let's not go into West Ham fans and their ambition for their managers. I'm going to give you 2 Rubens now. I don't want you to spend too long on it, because I'm conscious of time. Ruben Amorim and Ruben Sellers at Sheffield United. Ruben Amorim, first of all, Emperor's new clothes, or give him time, or under pressure, because if he doesn't get a win ratio in his first 4 or 5 games, the scrutiny at Man United will choke him. What do you reckon?
I think he'll get time. I think he's a talented manager. I do. And I think it would be a shame to bin off someone like that. I think he was always going to be under a tough ask last season. They were awful before he joined. I mean, in fairness, they were awful after he joined, and it was very disjointed. Really struggled to get his way of football across. Unhappy players, lacking in certain positions. They have recruited some really good players in the summer. They looked, their attack looked much better last week. I think he's a manager that needs time. I think if he doesn't start changing and elevating his plan soon this season, he's going to be under massive pressure. But I think he'll get time. Ruben Sellers, well, I honestly do think, mate, and I don't like criticising people, and I don't want to be, but I'm not being funny. Why on earth did Sheffield United's hierarchy think that sacking Chris Wilder and bringing him in was the next best thing and going to elevate them forward? He didn't, just because he vaguely helped Hull scrape past relegation.
On the last game of the season, by the way.
Of the season, he was terrible there. He was terrible at Reading. He was terrible at Southampton. How on earth does he bag the Sheffield United job? And again, we're only 3 games in. He's had 2 league games and a cup, and he's been thrashed. They look awful.
Yeah.
So he looks. This is the one where you were saying, can he last more than 3 games? Well, if he loses that league game at the weekend, he's under massive pressure, massive, because that's not Sheffield United. Their owners, that they won't stand for that. Three losses in the league, and they'll probably want to save face and give him a bit of time. But I don't think he's the right man. I think that's a case of, oh crap, we've got this wrong.
Yeah,
we need to move quickly and get someone back in, because their season could go from bad to worse very quickly.
Well, this might come back and bite us in the arse, because this is going out after they've played at Middlesbrough on a week on Saturday, as it's recorded. Yeah. I'm hoping that they don't win at the weekend and Middlesbrough give them a good tanking as well. And that'd be 5 games in the league that they'll have lost. 5 games in the league that they'll have lost by then, or 4. He's just not doing it. I don't know how he got the job. I don't know how Ruben Sellers was even on anyone's shortlist and thought, we've sacked Chris Wilder. Chris Wilder, by the way, I'm not a fan. And he lacks class and all that. But he got 92 points last season for Sheffield United. He didn't deserve to be sacked in a way. If he's going to get sacked to be replaced by someone who's like a a genius Bundesliga coach coming over who's going to drive the club forward. He's looking at that going, I've been sacked by a guy who finished fourth bottom of the championship, been replacing me. What the hell's going on? The last one I want to talk about before we get on to the sort of final bit is, and this is the guy I think's under the most pressure because I think it's the most bizarre appointment we've ever seen in the Premier League, and I think you know where I'm going to go with this. Keith Andrews, throw-in coach. Now I know he's more than that. I know he's set piece coach. Keith Andrews, he's been dealt the worst set of cards ever. They're ripping his team out from under him. They've lost all the backroom staff who've gone with Thomas Frank to Spurs. The continuity's not there, and he's an ex-pundit and throw in and coach for he's got no chance. As you don't learn your trade in the Premier League, do you?
I don't think you do. No. This speaks more of Matthew Benham, the majority owner, who is all for backing and supporting and promoting from within. And that's what he did with Thomas Frank, who was assistant to, I forget his name.
Dean Smith.
Dean Smith. I get that. I do. But Thomas Frank was a coach, and he was a talented coach, and he had potential to do what he's doing. And he's by the way, he started off at Tottenham, and it looks promising. So, you can see the talent there. I'm with you on this. I don't wish Keith Andrews ill. He seems like a nice guy. I wish him well. And of course he's going to take the job. Why wouldn't he? If you're offered it, of course he's going to take it. He's going to give himself a go. And good lad for doing it. So I'm not down on it. And I don't want this to be about us criticising and going, oh, yeah, you're rubbish. But because we don't know he's rubbish because he's never done it before. But it does seem a strange one from Brentford because it's like you've gone from having Thomas Frank, a really good squad, a really good team, and all of a sudden, like you say, inexperienced coach, which is tough in any league, let alone the Premier League. But then you've literally ripped his team up. I mean, Witter's going to go, Umbueno's gone, Norgard's gone. You're bringing players in that he's not worked with before, and they're untried and untested at Brentford in the Brentford way. Matthew Benham feels to me like it's all been about, I like to support and promote from within. It creates harmony in the club. But I don't think it's about harmony. Like you said, I think you've summed it up. You've dealt him a really tough hand of cards there. He's almost got one eye tied behind his back before he even starts.
Yeah.
But I think what he has got is goodwill from everyone, because I don't think anyone's going to wish him ill, and I don't think anyone's going to really criticise him. I think anyone out there can see he's got a tough ask ahead of him.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is going to be a tough year for Brentford. Do you know what? Brentford always surprise you. Every time you say it's going to be a tough year, they surprise you and play great football, but this could be the turning point for them, I think.
I think Brentford, if they finish 17th and he's still there, he gets manager of the season for that.
I agree with you. I agree. And it's such a shame because I really like watching Brentford, but inevitably what happens is when you've got good players that do really well, who deserve a move to, the so-called bigger clubs, and fair enough to them, good on them. But you almost, it's a bit like with Brighton, who seem to have a steady flow of great players going, and they recruit so well. Brentford have also recruited really well in the past, and I hope their recruitment now bears fruit in terms of keeping them stable and doing the same thing. I'd love to see them surprise us, Nick, I wish them really well. I don't wish ill of them because I've really liked the way they compete. But it'd be a shame if their success always means that the top six or bigger clubs benefit because they take away your players, and then it's how long does it last after that, and how hard is it? I've always admired that when they've lost players in the past, they've always managed to bounce back and keep going and keep going. Is this the season, particularly with the new manager that's unproven?
Well, that's the key, isn't it?
Isn't it?
They kept coming back when they had Thomas Frank. It's a different kettle of fish coming back with Keith Andrews.
Yeah.
The comparison with that is you look at it and you go, Palace are losing a lot of their decent players, right?
Yeah.
But their coach is miles more experienced as a coach than Keith Andrews, so you'd think they're safer. If Brentford had kept Thomas Frank and lost the players, you'd still think Frank can get them through. I just think Keith Andrews has he's been dealt an absolutely shocking hand, really.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's surprising because he could easily turn around and said, "Not for me right now. I'm happy."
Really?
Well, he could, but like I said before, he's never going to do that.
Nah.
If he wants to be a manager and has aspirations, if he's a clever guy or intelligent, he's probably thinking in the back of his head, of course he's going to back himself. And if you don't back yourself, you're done from day one. But there must be a tiny part way in the back where he's thinking, this probably, there's a very good chance this could go tits up.
Yeah.
But if I do a good enough job and for myself, it might elevate me to get a job somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because you can fail, but fail well, can't you?
You can fail
Honorably.
honorably.
You
Honorably.
can fail honorably, and that's maybe where he's thinking. If I do my very best and I want to be a manager, it might elevate me to get a job in somewhere else.
Good shout.
Yeah. So I wish him well. I do.
I do. No issue with him. I just think he's under immense pressure. Now, to finish the subject of Managers Merry-Go-Round, and we're not going to do the new stadium fan experience because of timing, which is fine. We'll do it next time. You'll have been to the Everton first home game by then as well. But to finish the Managers Merry-Go-Round, when Michael Carrick was sacked by Middlesbrough in June, after less than 3 full years in charge, he was the longest serving manager in the Championship at the time. I can guarantee to you now that more than half of the managers starting in the Premier League and the Championship in the start of this season will not be starting the next season in the same dugout. That's just how it works. So, unfortunately, that's the turnover. I just hope that when the managers get turned over for various reasons, that those reasons are valid, but also more importantly, that the chairman and the sort of directors of football and sporting directors take a view on young, up and coming, brave appointment managers instead of the same old names getting touted around. And that's one of my hopes for the season. Thoughts on that, Dom, as a final thought on this subject?
Yeah, I'd completely agree, Nick. I don't like to see managers that really haven't earned their stripes anywhere and keep doing the same old elsewhere, keep getting really good jobs because you just know they're not going to change what they do. You know it. Whereas there's other managers where you think actually they're worth giving a go. Like Michael Carrick wasn't. He did well at Borough, and I think we all had a lot of time for him. I think, but we could all see the frustrations of what we could see that maybe he couldn't, or maybe he could, and just didn't know how to get out of it. Like he never had a plan A or B.
Yeah.
Sorry, C. Very stubborn in his tactics. Would never do anything in terms of, I can't play a long ball to win a game. Well, God forbid, it's not all about tippy tappy, lovely football, Michael. It's the Championship. You can do things to win a game of football and send the fans home happy. But I think what I did like, he was a very polite, humble, well-spoken guy. Clearly had a lot of time with the club. Came across really well. Was good with the fans. Engaged with everybody. Don't think he went on bad terms in terms of the fans. Some fans may not have liked him. For me, I really wish him well, and I think he's the kind of manager that will go in somewhere else if he gets in the right club with the right project, and hopefully if he learns from what he's done at Borough, he's got potential. It's whether he keeps repeating that in future jobs, where all of a sudden you see it 2-3 jobs down the line where you're thinking it's just the same old again.
Russell Martin, that's what we're finishing on.
Russell Martin. Yeah.
There, on that subject, right, mate? On that subject, we finish with Russell Martin. Never thought I'd want to finish an episode talk about him, but never mind. Okay, so that was supposed to be the Managerial Merry-Go-Round of the new stadium fan experience. We've spent time on the merry-go-round. This podcast's not just for 9 episodes, it's for life. So here's the reality. We'll talk about new stadium fan experience at another time, probably on the next episode. We have said on the next episode we were going to talk about the 3 o'clock Saturday blackout and also annoying penalty techniques that are already starting to creep into this season. But without further ado, I'd like to say thanks for listening, watching, and enjoying, hopefully, the Half and Half Scar Football podcast with me, Nick, and my mate Dom. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share on all your favourite platforms. As I said before, we're on Apple, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Music, Audible, YouTube. Just search the full Half and Half Scar Football podcast with Nick and Dom and subscribe. And please like, share, and get involved. Send us some notes, comments. What do you want to hear about? What do you want to talk about? And we'll certainly look to put those into the process. So, Dom, thanks again, mate. Always a pleasure. And I'll see you a week on Saturday, I think. Are you coming to Sheffield United game?
Yeah, you'll see me Sheffield United. Saturday the 30th. Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Lunchtime kickoff. Thanks, Sky.
Kickoff, yeah. And at Everton on Sunday, 24th. This coming Sunday for the first competitive game at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. So looking forward to that. So we'll chat about that on a future pod. But yeah, thanks, mate. It's been brilliant. I echo what you say. Thanks for everyone for the support. Keep the comments coming in. We will address your comments and thoughts for future pods, and we will discuss them and name drop you in future ones. We are going to do that because we've got lots to talk about and lots of subjects, but really appreciate the support. And who would have thought very quickly, next one, we're on episode 10, up double figures, and long way to continue it because we're having a ball, we're loving it. And I'll see you soon.
Okay, mate. Cheers. Look after yourself.
And you. See you.